Good morning, Wabash. Today speaking in Pioneer Chapel is President of the College, Scott Feller, with his talk entitled, "The Consequence of Our Actions." Dr. Scott Feller is the 17th president of Wabash College and also holds the title of Howe Professor of Chemistry. Feller came to Wabash in 1998 as a chemistry professor, and over the span of his career served as department chair, division chair, and 6 years as dean of the college. He is a graduate of Willamette University in Oregon and earned his PhD in physical chemistry from the University of California at Davis. As a professor, President Feller received the McLean McTurnan Arnold Excellence in Teaching Award in 2009. He is also nationally recognized researcher and has earned 10 grants from the National Science Foundation, National Institutes of Health, and the Food and Drug Administration, totaling nearly $2 million. And he has involved Wabash students in the vast majority of his research. He has given scores and invited lectures and poster presentations, as well as departmental seminars at more than 50 institutions. His more than 70 publications is among the most widely cited in the chemistry worldwide. President Feller and his wife, Wendy, have 2 grown children, Amanda and Jake, and their own farm in rural Montgomery County. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming President Feller.
Thank you, Josh. Before he introduced me, Josh asked me how to pronounce McLean McTurnan Arnold Award, which was nice, but I'm gonna call him out here. He made a more critical mistake. Josh, it's Willamette, damn it. Good morning, Wabash. As I enter my 23rd year at Wabash, this is just the second time I've given a chapel talk. And perhaps history will note this one with an asterisk, given its location on the chapel steps. I try not to think too much about how the stories will read when they look back at this moment in our college's history, but I do think we will be remembered. I know that people are watching us. To be sure, a few are watching in judgment, but I prefer to think about the many who watch us with concern, support, and love. On the first day of class, I sent out a quick update to all the friends of the college. It wasn't something I'd planned on doing, but by Wednesday afternoon, I was so moved by the enthusiasm that I saw from our students and faculty that I had to share what I'd witnessed. The response to this email to the Wabash Nation was overwhelming. I have received more than 10 times more notes than I'd received for every other message I've sent put together. Messages like these, very heartening and encouraging in these otherwise dark times. I know that the energy required to sustain the social distancing, etc., will test the character and resolve of everyone there on campus. I also know that Wabash can and will meet all challenges successfully. My hopes and prayers and support continue to be with the Wabash family. And my favorite one, our son has already adopted a new appreciation and respect regarding his responsibility since returning to campus. Now, you may have heard me say before that I never planned to be your president, but let me be clear. I have never been as excited for an opportunity in my professional life as I am for this moment. And that's a strong statement because I previously had one of the greatest jobs in higher education, Wabash College chemistry professor. Never let unexpected be equated with disappointment in your mind. I've spent most of my life on what, looking back, might appear to be a well-planned career trajectory. But the truth is, my life has been shaped by a series of unexpected opportunities. So if the first lesson is never equate unexpected with disappointment, then lesson 2 is to be prepared for the unexpected. You and I have in common that we chose a liberal arts education. To be exposed to the long arc of human thought and human experience has served me well in dealing with the unexpected disappointments and unplanned opportunities. And the COVID pandemic has certainly served up a series of disappointments and taken away many things that we cherish. Time with others, jobs and schools, and in many cases, the health and even lives of people dear to us. Now, many in our society right now are struggling with these disappointments, struggling to such an extent that they're closing their minds and rejecting the guidance of scientists and doctors. Even worse, many are closing their hearts and are retreating to a concern only for themselves. They're unwilling to participate as members of civil society, unable to think about how their actions affect others. I'm thankful that my liberal arts education, guided by caring faculty mentors, prepared me for this moment, led me to be ready to absorb rapidly evolving science around the virus, to wrestle with ethical concerns for others, and to realize I needed to learn everything I could from people who are very different from me. Others doing much greater things than me are also bringing the values of liberal education to the work against the pandemic. My personal hero, Dr. Anthony Fauci, is a graduate of the College of the Holy Cross, where he majored in classics. Shout out to Dr. Wickizer. He credits his humanities education with propelling him to a successful career in medicine. Closer to home, we can see the type of selfless concern for others that's been demonstrated by two exceptional graduates of this liberal arts college, Drs. Scott Douglas and John Roberts. While continuing to care for their own patients, they stepped up as our county health officers to lead our community's response to coronavirus with a combination of science and humanity that should lead all of us to ask, what more can I do for those around me? They've found a way to sacrifice their personal comfort, time with family and friends, income from their own practice, all to protect the Crawfordsville community. And somehow, in a selfless gesture that we will never be able to repay, they did the same thing for Wabash College. They have sacrificed for 850 young men, most of whom they don't even know. Scott and John have demonstrated a sense of values, ethics, and civic engagement that all of us should adopt. And importantly, we must adopt them today. These are not lessons to be taken with you from Wabash. Because of the pandemic, these are lessons you must live at Wabash, right now, every day, everywhere. I want to return to the people in our world who reject the humane concern for others that Drs. Douglas and Roberts represent. You can picture these folks in your mind. They proudly reject mask wearing as an infringement on their personal rights and liberties, not for a moment considering their responsibility as members of society. They attend large gatherings, and rather than feeling remorse for their selfish actions, they post photos in social media in a perverse effort to normalize irresponsible behavior. This is a great struggle in our nation right now. It's a great struggle here in Crawfordsville. Conversations on the topic most often begin, "You won't believe what I saw at Walmart," or "fill in your favorite spot." I appreciate people's angers, and on the days when I'm not my best self, I know that I join in scorn for the selfish. But on my better days, I try to bring empathy and an appreciation for the different experiences of others, traits that I've acquired over 30-plus years of living and learning the liberal arts. I try to remember that one component of my privilege has been exposure to ideas, opportunities, and mentors that others have not experienced. I try, but I don't always succeed, to be patient and compassionate. You may recall from my early July video that I also called for honest and authentic conversation, so I'm going to be blunt with you now. While I have some compassion for the guy at Walmart whose narrow worldview has left him vulnerable to messaging that plays on fear and ugliness, I have no patience for any member of the Wabash community who demonstrates a selfish disregard for others. As Coach Morgan reminded me last week at orientation, we are all privileged to be at Wabash College. Now, we've spent the last 5 months educating this community on what it will take to safely operate as a residential college. We know we all need to sacrifice as individuals to achieve something great this semester as an institution. And I'm so glad that most of you have come back fired up, committed to an ideal, willing to be part of something bigger than yourselves, and anxious to be part of a historic moment at Wabash College. I've watched you mask up and watch your distance. I followed a group of you into Detchen last week on the second or third day of classes. I saw each young man in the line hit the hand sanitizer dispenser. I stopped. I'm telling you, I almost cried. It was beautiful. It was beautiful, guys. I'm so proud of our care team members who've stepped up to define for us what it means to lead effectively. I will admit, I would never have been able to do that job when I was their age. Not only are they educating their fellow students, they're also calling you to be your best selves, to do what it takes for our community to exist. My deep admiration for their work is one reason I was so disappointed by some of the behaviors they and other student leaders had to wrestle with last weekend. I was particularly disturbed to hear the response from a student who brought a guest into our campus housing, endangering all of us. When confronted, this student said he would, quote, accept the consequences of having a guest on campus, in complete opposition to Dean Redding's mandate. Let's unpack this just a bit, gentlemen. This student has completely failed to understand what it means to be a member of our community. He understands the world only as an individual, his individual desires to have a guest, and what he imagines is a penalty doled out only to him. At least I hope that it's his narrow view that keeps him from understanding what he's saying. Because if he really understood what he was saying, he would realize that accepting the consequences means he's willing for members of this community to fall ill, to potentially die, and for our residential campus to disband, just like the University of North Carolina, just like Notre Dame. Those are the real consequences of your actions, gentlemen. If any student is willing to, quote, accept the consequences of disregarding our health guidance, policies, and procedures, and willingly places members of this community at risk, then I have a simple message for that student. Get the hell out of our college. Move home tonight. Move home before Monday's student census so that your student transcript will not reflect that you had to withdraw from all your classes because you were expelled. You can leave now. I'm sure Dean Redding will let you return in January. But let me be clear. If you put this community at risk, you are violating the gentleman's rule. The only consequence you should be prepared for is expulsion from our college, never to return. Now, my sincere hope is that Wabash together is how we'll forge ahead from today, from tomorrow, for the entire semester. For everyone who wants to live and learn here together, let's join together. Let's call each other to the highest standards of behavior. Even when it makes us uncomfortable, you must call out your brother. Professor Ann Taylor pointed me towards chapter 18 in the book of Matthew, verses 15 to 17, as a guide for how we might deal with others who are breaking the rules. And I think it's a good model of what leading effectively might look like. If your brother or sister sins, go and point out their fault, just between the two of you. If they listen to you, you have won them over. But if they will not listen, take one or two others along, so that every matter may be established by the testimony of 2 or 3 witnesses. If they still refuse to listen, tell it to the church. And if they refuse to listen even to the church, treat them as you would a pagan or tax collector. These verses suggest to me that the first step to an observed wrongdoing is an individual conversation. I've been having a lot of those. In general, people appreciate it when you point out how they can do better. If that doesn't work, bring along another student. It could be an RA, a fraternity leader, a care team member, or honestly, any other student. After that point is when you should ask someone from student life or the college to get involved. I understand this is uncomfortable, but both the gentleman's rule and our mission statement call students to make their peers better. I know it's hard to do, but the most effective way to respond to bad behavior is to confront it directly. I want to leave you with an observation from the fall of 1918, when the influenza pandemic was in full swing. Somehow that fall, a football game was played between Wabash and Notre Dame, right here in Crawfordsville. It resulted in a 66-7 win for the Fighting Irish. While I didn't read full details of the game, it seems to me they may have run the score up on us. Now, you also may have heard that 2 days ago, Notre Dame suspended face-to-face instruction after just 7 days of classes. Tomorrow, we will complete our 8th day of classes, giving us the victory in the important competition of the 2020 pandemic. Gentlemen, I am not content to win this thing 8-7. Be smart this weekend so that we can go out and run up the score on the Irish. Together, we can finish this semester with a 70-7 victory to provide some payback for our brothers in 1918. Wabash men, go out, be safe, be healthy, be a community that cares about the collective whole and not the individual gratification. We can get this done. Thank you, men.
Before we depart, let's rise and sing Old Wabash. From the hills of Maine to the western plain, to where the cotton is blown, we share the north.